there is real work that has to happen. It is about being persistent. I think that that's something my dad taught me so many years ago when I was really young, is to be persistent on the things that you love, whether it's marriage, whether it's your kids, and for sure when you're an entrepreneur.
Alrighty, so we have a guest today. I'm so excited.
Happy day.
Yay. And it's just on one of our favorite topics, all about pets. I can't wait to talk about this. So, Amy Stone, founder of Guru Pet Company. I want you to kind of talk about yourself a little bit more, maybe even just some of the stuff we just talked about offline. Could be really interesting, as well as tell us a little bit more about you and then tell us about how you came about with Guru Pet Company.
Yeah, for sure. So, my name is Amy Stone, and I am the president of Guru Pet Company. When it comes to my life, we call it our big crazy life, kind of the modern day Brady Bunch. We have 6 kids, 7 dogs, and my husband and I started Guru Pet Company about 3 years ago. It'll be this September, but I've been in the pet space for 25 years. So I've been doing this for quite a while. I've worked at one of the biggest dog toy brands in the world, I would say. We all know that big, beautiful company, Kong. So it was really just such a great company to work for, worked with great people. And then I met my husband there. So my
Oh,
husband became the VP of product development there. I was a senior product manager. I came back to Kong after taking a leave of absence, and my boss, who was the president of Kong at the time, said, you're going to start reporting to someone new. And I was not really stoked about it. And I showed up, and there was my husband that I, didn't know. He became my boss. And so we really just became friends first. And we worked on a lot of products together in different projects. And we just slowly really became each other's person. And it does not pencil out, like I tell everyone, when your husband and the person you fall in love with becomes your boss. So we kind of had to figure out a new way to handle that. And we started a new company called Gravity Product Development. And actually, Kong was great about it. They really saw that we were just really meant to be together. And but we started inventing and designing products for all the big brands. So then we started another company called Gravity Product Development, and there we would invent and license toys. And so I'm more the inventor side. JJ's more the engineer, brings my ideas to life. And so we did that for about a decade, and when we designed for all the big brands, and it was great. It became, I tell people, kind of became like mailbox money. You invent and design all these great products, and you get royalties, and so it was super fun. Really, you kind of get to that point where you build up just hundreds of different products that you're selling through a variety of different companies. And it was great. But there became a part where, in an end time, where we thought it's just not really that fulfilling. And JJ always wanted to start his own brand. We would always talk about it. He really is more the entrepreneur than I am. I mean, being a mom and having 6 young kids. All of our kids right now, they're 14 to 21, but at the time they were very little when we first got together. Our youngest was 2. And so, it just never was the right time to go start something big and a little bit risky. And so I would always kind of say, no, it's not the right time. It's not the right time. And there just became a point after 10 years of doing inventing for all the big brands that we left Super Zoo. And for people who understand the pet industry, it's one of the biggest pet shows in the United States. And we left the new product showcase, and we just didn't see any innovation, and we just said, JJ, really, it was JJ who said, yeah, I just feel like it's time. It's time for us to start our own brand. For sure, I still had a little hesitancy, but he really pushed it, and I really trust him. He's a great leader. He's super intelligent. And I thought, all right, well, our kids are older, they're really moving to the next phase of their life. And we saw the need in the industry for more innovation, and that's really our specialty. And so Super Zoo 2022 is when the journey began for Guru Pet Company.
That's exciting. What was that like? I guess, a lot of the people we talk to and this podcast is from grit to growth. And so you're living it and breathing it. So what was that like though, when you took the step off the curb with all these other pressures around you? And my guess is people kind of saying, hey, Amy, this isn't a good idea. How do you go from that phase to just starting to really hit the ground running?
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, especially like I said, coming off of a company that was very safe. Um, it was very scary. It was, you could feel the risk. You had some people who were really cheering you on, and that was very positive. Some other business owners that we knew really cheering us on. Then you have other people, you're going to be their competition. So, kind of against it. And just, I guess I would say confirming some of those insecurities in yourself, right? You're not going to be good enough. You'll never make it. It's so expensive. How many companies actually get through the first year? You have all these kids. How do you balance being a mom, owning a company? How are you going to raise all that capital? And so there's a lot of pressure. There still is a lot of pressure, but
Right.
that it's a scary time. I mean, I like, I love your name from grit to growth, because it really is, when you're an entrepreneur and you get in it, I think that you have to be a serious optimist. You can't look at the negatives. You have to move past the naysayers. You have to believe in yourself and what you're doing. And I think that's what JJ and I really did. We knew we had great products. We knew we had great innovations. And at the end of the day, you have to know your target audience, right? And I'm not just talking about the pet parents, but I'm talking about the dogs, right? And so
Hmm.
we knew we created great products. We knew there was a real lack of innovation, and we were just going to go get it. And we really just kind of put all of the negativity aside. I think there's a lot of power in starting something with your husband, because there's ups and downs on a daily, hourly basis, I think. And to have your partner, who's your biggest encourager, your biggest fan, your biggest supporter, you balance that out, right? And so when I'm up or JJ's down, then I help him, and vice versa. And I
Yeah.
think that has been a real motivator for each of us,
Yeah.
to just keep each other going.
So you have this idea. You now want to go from making the products to actually building a brand. What are the first couple steps that you take?
Well, for the first part for us was kind of easy, in that it was the beginning of the journey that we knew, which is product development. And so we really we put our heads down and we started innovating great products, working on the materials, JJ doing all the design, the engineering, making sure the products were safe, building the tools, working with the factories. That part we knew. I mean, we were experts at that. And so we just put our heads down and we grinded for 9, 10 months. And we launched with uh, 70 products, 75 different SKUs. We said if we were going to do this, we were going to do it big, and we had to make a mark. You launch with 5, 8 SKUs, then no one really knows who you are, right? You're still kind of this small little company. So how do you make all these big brands, especially the ones we used to work with, get a little nervous, right? I mean, that was the point, is to make them a little nervous, to set the new bar in dog toys. Like, this is the new innovation. This is the new benchmark. We're going to set the bar in dog toys, and we're going to come make a big splash. So a year later, we launched at Super Zoo 2023. Little nerve wracking, but so that part we knew, right? We knew the product development phase and the tooling. It was the selling that we didn't know if we were good at, right? It was the marketing, the distribution, the fulfillment. That part was really scary. Like, can we do that piece? Are we going to be good at it? How do we do it, right? And I think that what we did was really lean into all those people who were big supporters of JJ and I. Um, the other company presidents that really were encouragers, asking questions to all of our resources, family, right? We come from, JJ and I both come from a background of having families who were entrepreneurs, and so we really leaned into a lot of that as well. So
every founder has that moment when that moment tells them, hey, this is actually starting to work. And it's one of those, where were you when this happened kind of a thing. What was that moment for you?
oh yeah, that's easy. It was Super Zoo 2023. It was right when we started. We unveiled all the products. We weren't in the high traction area. We were a new small booth. We were in a 10 by 20, kind of stuck in the corner by the new product showcase. But we had, I think, 4 spaces in the new product showcase. So we really went out on a limb to say, hey, come look at us, come see what we're doing. And they came. And we had buyer after buyer coming by our booths, wanting to know who we are, where did you come from, and know all about the toys. And just to see people's interest in the innovations, loving what we were doing. It was probably 4 to 6 hours into that first day of Super Zoo. And JJ and I looked at each other and we were like, oh, we've got something here.
Wow.
People are interested. They're loving what we're doing. They love our story, and I think that for JJ and I, we weren't new to the industry, right? We weren't, hey, let's just come up with a couple of dog toys and launch them and see how this works. We were, what we say, we were behind the curtain. We were inventing for other companies. And so for us, it was really like a coming out, revealing, drawing the curtain, really stepping out and saying, hey, this is who we are. A lot of these buyers and these big retailers, they were selling our toys, but they didn't even know they were selling our toys, right? And so for them to really meet the inventors behind a lot of those products and then seeing what we really could do and what we could offer this space, it was exciting. I mean, it was really a serious adrenaline rush. And those shows still are an adrenaline rush for us, And
Yeah.
so, that's when it started. Super Zoo 2023, 1 year later.
Wow. Well, many of the founders we work with are probably loving what you're saying right now. They are also product developers, they are inventors. But when it comes to the other parts of the business, how do I get a website going? What does marketing look like? How much capital do I need? Or how much inventory do I need? And all those other questions. So you had talked about you were leaning on resources. Tell us a little bit more, tell it really our listeners a little bit more about that. How did you go from, okay, I'm really feeling comfortable developing the products, but now I've got to make the leap to being a brand and a business owner. So what did that really look like?
Well, reaching out to people, right? And asking a lot of questions. And then, like, I'll be really honest, making a lot of mistakes, right? I mean, it is, you learn from your failures. I hear other entrepreneurs who are far more successful than me talk about that a lot. And I think that's reassuring as an entrepreneur to know that you're going to make mistakes. The first year we brought in way too much inventory, really overshot the mark, and because we didn't know what was going to sell. And so at the end of the day, 70 products became 80 became 100 became 120, because that's what JJ and I are really good at, is inventing and really trying to understand a balance, right, of innovation and sales. And so we brought in too much product and then just having to balance that out, which we did. But that becomes high pressure. That's a high pressure situation when you have $1 million in inventory. You're a new company and you're like, oh my gosh, like, how am I going to sell all of this? And so those sorts of mistakes are real. And it's really, leaning in on those resources, finding people who are better at those things, right? I think as an entrepreneur, one of the things you have to realize is what you're good at and what you're not good at. I'm a great product developer. I'm an inventor. Like, that's my wheelhouse. And I love to sell, which I knew a little bit before, but now I really know, like, wow, these are the skills like God gave me. I'm really good at those things. What am I not great at? Understanding, the financial piece, monitoring inventory, the operation side. All of those things I know enough to be dangerous at. And I've gotten a lot better at it, but really leaning into experts in that area, whether they're consultants, whether they're just trusted advisors. You really have to lean on people who are better at those things than you are and trust their gut in those areas.
This is a happy business. It's not like people are buying this to replace tires or something. It's, they're doing it for joy and enthusiasm. How do you keep the products fresh? Because your customer can only bark, and so it's like they love it or they don't love it. How do you do product testing? And I guess the second part of that is, do you know if you have a lot of repeat customers that come back to you time and time again because of the product freshness?
Right. So, everybody asks, right? So when you're an inventor, people always ask, if it's the number one question that we do get is, how do you come up with all your ideas? And really, there is a special sauce to it for sure. And that special sauce is, it's a gift. I mean, some people have, I say, like, you have the gift or you really don't. Just like I'm not an accountant, I don't have that gift. But the other piece of it is, I spend time with my dogs, and to really sit and evaluate and watch how they play. Every dog is different. Every breed is different. Terriers are different than spaniels. Border collies are different than chihuahuas, and they all play differently. So in our house, we have 7 dogs. We call them the Chew Crew. We have one pit mix. She's our latest, greatest, and kind of my pride and joy. A lot of work on her training. We have 2 Italian Greyhounds, and I mean, these guys are high energy, high drive. And I mean, they challenge me every day to come up with new ideas because I have to keep them busy. 2 Labradoodles, a terrier mix, and he is my heavy chewer. He's like 30 to 30 pounds of fury. And our Chihuahua mix, right? So we have all these dogs, and spending time with them really is understanding who they are and how they were created. They all play differently. They all have natural instincts that need to be addressed, and they're just different, right? And so Booker, my Labradoodle, he's my fetch and retrieval guy. He's the one who I work with in creating new fetch toys, and I have to keep him busy. That's his natural instinct. That's his passion, right? Where Miles and Larry, my Iggies, my 2 little Italian Greyhounds, they want to work for their food. They would do it all day, every day if I let them. And so that's their instinct that I need to address. And so by really spending time with your dogs and having just a broad amount of different breeds of dogs, I can really sit with them and say, okay, this is the new product that would maybe help them. Or you watch them play and I'm like, this is a gap that they need. How do I make that toy better? Right. And even not just other companies' toys, even my own toys. How do I come up with the super toy, right? Take a lot of toys that were successful that still address those instincts, but it's going to be the best toy. And so it really, I tell everyone, it really all starts with the dogs, always.
Wow. I love that you take user testing to a whole new level. It's right in your backyard. I mean, that's just so awesome. And just the amount of knowledge you have in regards to, how you build this Guru Pet Company's toys or products into white space that still exists in a very saturated industry right now is just incredible. How do you test new products besides your dogs, but out with your audience? How do you kind of bring out new arrivals and test them with the consumer?
Yeah. Well, the trade shows. So, I mean, I think that it all starts with the dogs. Then we bring them to the shows and you're really testing them on the buyers, right? And so you're trying to see what piques their interest, what they would make room for, right? And so and it differs between different retailers. And so, different retailers have different target audiences. And so you want to create products for everybody. We look at it like, we want Guru dog toys on every pet parent's floor. And what does that look like? Well, we know there's so many different breeds of dogs. And so we know we need to have a number of different products. And so those retailers, they know their audience best. And so what might be right for PetSmart is going to be different than what is right for Feeder's Pet Supply or Hollywood Feed or Pet
Mhm.
Supplies Plus. They know their target audience best. And so what our job is to come up with multiple different products at multiple different price points, and make sure there's something for everybody. And that means from chew toys to fetch and retrieval toys to foraging toys. Really, our job is to create dog toys in every single category for every single pet parent for every single
Yeah.
retailer.
What's your mix of revenue between wholesale retail?
I would say it's about, I mean, probably 50-50 right now. Yeah, probably about 50-50. I mean, we are, you know, we don't like to like pick one over the other, right? It's like we are trying to get a lot of exposure and get our products everywhere. And so, our focus is business to business. We do sell a little direct to consumer. That's really more marketing because we want to build that relationship with the end user, right? Which
Right.
is the pet
Yes.
parent. And so we are right now, our target is to get our products wherever we can get them. So,
Right.
yeah.
Okay. That's awesome.
I would think your website is kind of your lab for talking to customers a little
Right.
bit more directly than getting it third hand from Petco and Pet Supply and so forth. Do you spend any time with your customers in that way? And how would you advise people listening or watching this to do that as well?
Well, we develop a lot of videos, and I think that's really important. We have them all over our website. We do QR codes on our packaging. I want that connection with the end consumer, the pet parent, because one, I want them to see the passion behind our toys, that this is not a big company making products and skimping on materials and just churning things out. All of our products come with thought, and we develop what we call solution based products. They're for the dogs, not for how humans want them to play, but actually for how dogs play. Our goal is to keep dogs in homes. One of the number one reasons that dogs end up in shelters or return back to shelters is for what we call as humans behavioral issues, right? Dogs don't have behavioral issues. They're just dogs. We are the ones who are inviting them to come into our homes. And so it's our job to address those natural instincts to keep them happy in the homes. And so dogs do get returned to shelters, and there's just an overwhelming frustration, I think, sometimes when you get that really new cute puppy and you bring it home and the pet owner gets frustrated. There's a lot of destructive chewing, and it's not the pet parent's fault. It's certainly not the dog's fault, but there's a missing piece. And our products really do come in and play a vital role in that, which is, hey, your dog needs to work for their food. Hey, your dog needs exercise. Your dog needs to chew. These are how dogs were created. We're inviting them into our homes. And so there is a happy medium of keeping happy dogs and happy pet parents. And it really does start with product development and delivering great products so that dog can keep busy and occupied in your home.
Right.
Let's talk about you, Amy, as a founder, an entrepreneur. Now, you work with your husband, so you're probably not as lonely as some of the other founders tell us that they are on some level, but maybe there's some loneliness there. But tell me, and we deal with founders all the time. And, 1 minute we're on the phone with them, they're super energized, they're super excited. And 2 weeks later, they're like, oh, I'm so stressed. I'm not having fun anymore. How do you, what are some of those moments for you? And then how do you keep yourself personally grounded and energized?
Oh, for sure I have those moments. Okay. So I love to invent and sell, but that's just not the reality when you're an inventor or an entrepreneur. Like there's actual dirty work that needs to get done every day. I have to get into the spreadsheets. I work on invoicing and I help, operations. I'm working on containers, and I deal with fun things like tariffs that have to be managed, right? And so there are a lot of problems that happen, and it's hard. It is a blessing to work with my husband. I will say that. And I could see how it could be very lonely. 7 dogs does help when it comes to that, but there is real work that has to happen. It is about being persistent. I think that that's something my dad taught me so many years ago when I was really young, is to be persistent on the things that you love, whether it's marriage, whether it's your kids, and for sure when you're an entrepreneur. Um, when it comes to being grounded, that is an easy one. When you have children, they tend to keep you very grounded. And
Mm.
I think for JJ and I, at the end of the day, being mom and dad is number one, right? And so when you have kids from 14 to 21, they really do keep you grounded. They remind you what's important. They expect you to show up. Doesn't matter if you had a bad day and you overbought $1 million in inventory, like you have to be at that lacrosse game. You have to make lunches, and you have to, help your child move into college. And so all of those things, they really count on us to show up for them. And at the end of the day, my biggest, best job is mom. So that's really what keeps me grounded. And energized for sure. It's JJ and I working together. I mean, there is an energy of working with your spouse, and I think you can have that even if it's not your husband or your wife. Having a great partner, there's a lot of value in that. His expertise is the areas that I'm not great at. He's part genius. I mean, he literally takes my ideas and he brings it to an actual working product. He does all the artwork, the design, all the engineering. He ensures the safety for dogs, and we both work on that. But he really has a super critical role. So where I start, he finishes. But that really helps on the energy level because you have bad days, right? And dog toys, I always tell everybody, we're not creating life-saving devices here. They're not going into hospitals, but they are really critical when it comes to the improving and bettering the lives of dogs in between their pet parents.
I think you're going to start a whole new wave of husband and wife or
Yeah.
partner and partner businesses here. I feel like
I recommend it. Listen, there's nothing more rewarding than at the end of the day, JJ and I, we did it last night. We just got a new big account. We're super excited. We celebrate the successes. And I think that is super important.
good for you.
The
Yeah.
smallest of them to the biggest is we celebrate the successes. We sit down with a cocktail and we celebrate. Hey, we just got, 2 feet into this new big retailer. And it's really important to celebrate that because it is a lot of work and there are really tough days. But when you can look at each other and really say, we've got something here, it's pretty awesome. And also, I think one of the great things for JJ and I too is we do have all these children, and they're super fans. And I think that really helps us keep going too, is they're super proud of us. They show all their friends, they show them our videos, they follow us, they tag us, they like all our stuff. And I think that it comes with a lot of pride, and to watch them really love that what we're doing. And yeah, it's really a great thing. It's a family business, really.
Yeah. Is there anything that you and JJ, do you ever spend time saying, okay, wow, we've achieved our goal this year. What are we playing for the next 5 years?
Oh yeah, that funny. We were just talking about it yesterday, which is, these were our targets and our goals for 2025, and we've hit them. But as far as like attaining these new big accounts, what's our plan for 2026? How do we continue to grow? I mean, we're a small company. We're a small fish in a big pond, but we're coming. And we're not going to stop. We're not going to slow down, and we just continue to set new goals. I think it's super important to do that, to say, here's where we're at. Where do we want to be next year? Where do we want to be the year after that? But I think it's okay to adjust too, because where there are wins, there will be losses. And it's okay to revamp your plan. Maybe you lose an account because they increased your retails $5 higher than you had originally asked them to. and you go, oh my gosh, like of course that toy is not going to sell at $24.99, and you lose a spot in the planogram. Well, you have to adjust for that. You have to figure out how you make up those dollars. And you can't make all the decisions for all these big retail
Right.
stores, but you can just continue to modify the plan, but always coming up with new goals. It's super important.
Right.
So go ahead, Mark.
I'm sorry, just I was thinking about your product development a little bit and how do you prevent Amazon or anyone from just saying, "Oh, that's a cool design, let's just make it."
So we patent, so we patent our toys for sure. And it is important to protect them and your innovations. And so we spend a lot of time with our patent attorney, that's for sure. That's JJ's job. I get to do the fun part, innovating. He has to do all the work when it comes to that. But the other part is you innovate faster, because it's just like when people copy you in real life. I tell my kids this. It's the finest form of flattery. Yeah, my kids will say, someone copied me. That's flattery. Just go be better. And the same thing comes to being a dog toy company. You just outwork them. You out invent. I'm on to my next idea. That's great. You work on my idea from a year ago. I'm ahead of you. I'm still inventing. And because that is my gift. And if I slow down, well, for sure people are going to catch up. But the key is to keep coming up with great products, coming up with new ways that dog toys move, function, their durability, design. It's just to never stop. And I think when inventors, I think, who really have the gift, they know it. Your brain never stops. I am an inventor. I make dog toys, and my husband literally has to keep me in line, because it'll be vacuums and I'll say, do you know what they really need to do in the vacuum space is create a product like XYZ? And he'll be like, focus, because we just never stop inventing. We always want products to be better, right? And that's how you have the gift. And so I just keep inventing. I stay in my lane. I stay in the dog space, in the dog toy space, and we just keep going. And I'll let the people bite at our heels and chase our old products. But you build the brand. You let people really trust what we're doing, see the passion and the heart behind it. And I think you don't have to worry about it that much.
Yeah, I really like that advice for our listeners and founders is, if somebody copies you, you just keep moving forward. You just get better. I remember someone, Mark and I both know, said something like, if you run a marathon in X time and you win, the next year you run that marathon, you got to run it faster, because everybody else is going to run it in that same X time, as you just did this year. And so it made me think, you can look at your competitors behind you. They'll catch up to you if you slow down. You got to keep going.
Yeah. Well, one of my mentors, and I call him, he's the Tom Brady of football in the dog toy space. Okay. I won't name drop today, but he really is one of the people that JJ and I really look up to when it comes to dog toy and inventing. He told me something a long time ago from some place I used to work, and I would come up with ideas. And he told me it's so important. You cannot come up with one product. Okay. If you're an inventor, you can't hang your hat on one product. You really need to have multiple different products, because you just don't know what's going to be successful. And B, you're always, your heart and your company is just hanging on that one product and the sales of that one idea. You have to have multiple different ideas, and you need to keep developing. And that was something he taught me so long ago, and I'll never forget it, because he was right. And it goes to that same subject, which is, because people do copy you, and people are always going to copy you, but you just have to keep going. You have to keep inventing. You have to know your gift and continue to improve your product development skills.
Yeah, that's true.
You're an inspirational person. You should actually bottle some of that and sell it on your site. And, give our listeners a little bit of inspiration to the degree you're willing to share from a standing start, first year revenues, second year revenues, third year revenues, even if a range, if you want to. If you're not comfortable doing it, I totally get it. But it's one of those things where people kind of go, whoa.
Oh, sure. So, first year we were about $200,000, right? And so that was about 6 months of sales. Second year was about $1.6 million. This year we're on track to be about $2.5 million or more. We just got some new big accounts that could close by the end of the year, so it could be more like three.
Wow.
Next year, 2026, I expect us to be more about $4.5-5 million as we work to move overseas as well. So
That's
we're a
impressive.
small but mighty team. There's three of us. We really manage everything between the three of us right now. We're going to be growing here even quicker, but it's that's a lot, for a very small company in a very short period of time. It's a lot of sales very quickly. And I think another important thing to know is we've also turned down some opportunity, and that is to manage growth. So we could have grown quicker, but growing quicker is expensive. And I think that's one thing entrepreneurs really need to understand as well. Again, same mentor told JJ that as well when we had some opportunities with some big retailers, which is okay to say no, because they'll respect you for that. And you want to grow cautiously, because if you get too far in over your skis, it could be catastrophic. And that is something. So we're really trying to manage that and grow at a pace where we own our company and we don't get to a point where you're growing too fast and you're really in a dangerous situation. Super important.
It is. Entrepreneurs, growing too fast can really put you out of business very quickly. Not right now is about the best message. And that takes you knowing, like you guys do, where you want to go, being very specific about your strategy and very specific about who you want to work with, both the B2B and the B2C customers. You've got quite a few lessons for our listeners today. I appreciate it. You wanted me to ask this question, so I'm very interested to hear what the answer is. Morning routine, Zen master or chaotic mess?
I always say it depends on the day. I love this because it really does depend on the day. And I think that's all right. I think especially when you're parents, right? And you're trying to balance so many different things of being a mom, owning your own company, having 7 dogs, it's okay to be chaotic one day and then be a Zen master the next. And as a mom, I think that when you go, oh, I've got everything under control, this is the greatest day. Be careful about tomorrow because it probably will be chaotic. I think it's kind of fun sometimes. I thrive on a little bit of chaos. I think it's okay to be able to navigate that and navigate it well. But, a good balance, I would say, is important.
Maybe just share with our listeners, they want to check out Guru Pet Company. So maybe just share like where they can go and, what the real message behind Guru Pet Company is.
Oh, for sure. Well, go to gurupetcompany.com. Watch our founders video. You really will learn about JJ and I, our family, where we came from, how it all started. I always love to say this because I think at the end of the day for JJ and I, this is a love story. It's a love for dogs. It's a love for our family. It's a love between he and I. And I think that is at the end of my life, I know I'm not going to look back and go, wow, I created this $50 million dog toy company. That's not what it's about. It's about the love between he and I, our dogs and our kids. That's the most important thing. But go to gurupetcompany.com, check out all of our toys. There's a lot of innovation. There's passion behind every single toy that we design and develop. And just go check them out. Your dogs will love it.
Yep, I agree. They will. Well, thanks for joining us today. This was awesome. I'm sure that our listeners got quite a bit out of what you just said. So thank you so much.
Oh, well, you're so welcome.
Thanks, Amy.
You're welcome.
And for all those listeners out there, subscribe, reviews, customer feedback, anything.
Any comments, ideas, we really appreciate it. Thanks so much.